I thought in today's video I would try something a little bit different. I'm going to put forth a fictional scenario based on a true story. And at the end of this scenario, I will reveal what it's based on. Some of you, I'm sure, will pick it up within a matter of minutes. And I think through this fictional scenario, it will illuminate the hypocrisy out of Washington, D.C. regarding Venezuela, and also show that anything coming from our mainstream media regarding Venezuela is simply doing the bidding of D.C. So without any further delay, fictional scenario simply meant to educate and illuminate. The area that you see outlined on your screen is no longer part of the state of Florida. It is now known as Makivia. Based on the support of 111,000 subscribers, having the financial wherewithal to do so, we now claim this entire region as our own. Agents of the state of Florida and the United States are given 48 hours to leave our territory. We claim divine right, by name, to rule this region. And since taking it by force is the standard by which land is established, countries are established, this is how we intend to do it. Manifest destiny was the basis for that. Prior to that, Matthew 11 in the Bible, along with the example set by King Henry VIII, who declared himself head of the Church of England. And since he was the sovereign of the state, he was the head of the church in his own land. Well recognized, and the basis of the United States of America is Great Britain. Therefore, we declare the same to be true here. I was personally raised a Pentecostal Christian and the de facto leader of the Maquis. That will now be the official religion. Women are expected to, if they live within our borders, to conduct themselves in public as you would expect a Pentecostal woman to. Neck to ankles and wrists covered, no makeup. Women are now also possessions of their husbands. Unmarried women are possessions of their fathers and or brothers. The official language is now Latin. English will only be used in a manner that is meant to educate people in the holy language of Latin, and that is what will be spoken in public. Spanish will be tolerated in certain regions, but English, only being used for reference, will no longer be allowed in public. The word whatnot, under pain of death, is now deprecated and not to be used because it just annoys me personally. Now, that is a ridiculous scenario, isn't it? Even if I had the money, the people, the military might, to then say that because I have such thing, by divine right, if I can take the land, it is mine to take. And if I'm able to do so, it's in the sight of God, and if God allows it, therefore God endorses it. Now, you're probably asking, some of you, who did this in the world that the U.S. recognizes? Well, that's an easy one. That is a super duper easy one to answer. Not Venezuela. Saudi Arabia. See, many people don't understand the word Saudi in Saudi Arabia is the name of a family that in the early part of the 20th century, through military conquest, conquered this land and declared it the personal possession of their family. Of their family. And then declared themselves the rulers. And Washington, D.C., and many other nations have recognized them, do business with them, have no problem with them, military alliances with them, the exchange of ambassadors. Can you imagine for one moment if I were to, let's assume that I had the money and the wherewithal to create this fictional Makivia, if I were then to send ambassadors to Tallahassee? They would, of course, be arrested on the spot. They wouldn't be recognized under any circumstances, regardless of any. But why is it so particular not the case with Saudi Arabia? And you can read the wiki on Saudi Arabia and their opinions regarding foreigners and women. There were women that died in a fire because they weren't allowed to leave a burning building because they didn't have the proper coverings. That's fact. That happened in 2010. They rule this country by divine right. And much like the fictional Makivia, there are resources, vast resources, that I could use to parlay my strength as the leader of the Maki. You know, having 111,000 subscribers, let's just say that was my family, those were my group. I could probably control this area with 111,000 armed soldiers. Pretty easy. Now, it's ridiculous and silly in the extreme to the average American, but in reality, it exists in the world today. A situation exactly like that. There are no elections in Saudi Arabia. They rule as if it were handed to them by God. The two holiest sites in Islam exist in Saudi Arabia, Mecca and Medina. And you don't hear any condemnation from our government, from any other government about this. We just signed a deal to arm these people. $110 billion now in 2017 and $350 billion over the next 10 years. But Venezuela is a dictatorship. Venezuela is the problem. A place that literally used the Holy Bible to create their constitution. You get caught with a Holy Bible in Saudi Arabia? Good luck. Their list of offenses makes what happened in medieval Europe seem like nothing regarding women. They marry off 10-year-old girls to 50-year-old men. Their definition of rape is if you have sex with a woman without the permission of the woman's brother, father, or caretaker, guardian. That's who the contract is between. They say there's no more forced marriage in Saudi Arabia. Yeah, that's right. One man cannot force a woman. Let me see if I can say this right. She has no say in that. You cannot coerce another man to marry his daughter to your son. But the woman has no say in it, one way or the other. Arranged marriage is the policy of the government of Saudi Arabia. And you say, well, that's just about oil. Really? There's more oil in Venezuela than in Saudi Arabia. So ask me again why I speak about this situation so much. Because it's ridiculous. And for those of you that are so fired up and excited about the current leadership in D.C., we had a leader in this country that only served one term. And he was the last leader to tell Saudi Arabia to go suck an egg. You know who that was? Jimmy Carter. Now, you may not like him. His term was marked by a lot of financial heartache, but it had a lot to do with that. The Saudi oil embargo caused the problems in the 70s. And that's where the ban on exporting oil came from. That led to this exact point right now. When we lifted that ban, on exporting oil. That's what caused the problem in Venezuela, collapsed the price of oil. Destroyed many, many countries. Venezuela was particular to DC because A, it's close, B, it's the biggest source of oil in the world, and C, for a long time we controlled it. That's why there were sanctions here and nowhere else. That's why there were food shortages here and not many other places. The suffering in Venezuela had nothing to do with Chavez, nothing to do with Maduro. We recognize dictators every day. We work with dictators every day. We tacitly approve their treatment of women as property. Basically slavery, every single day. And not only do we tolerate it, we promote it. We make it national policy. And it doesn't matter if you're an American woman, you marry a Saudi national and you get caught over there, you're done. You are the property of that man. So, as silly and as ridiculous as my declaring this part of northeastern Florida, Mauquivia, and changing everything, that's exactly what happened in the area we know as Saudi Arabia in the early 20th century, 1902, I think it was. The Saudis came to power. It was kind of it happened over about 10 to 20 years, but it was about 1932 before Ibn al-Saud actually took the throne. So really less than 100 years. So I don't know how anyone could say, well, that's okay, but Nicolas Maduro is a dictator. When, since 2000, when Chavez took over, there's been 7 elections. 7. There's never been one in Saudi Arabia. So, if anyone out there can shoot a hole in this story, I'd sure love to hear it. Like, share, subscribe.